What if I told you that the most powerful, confident version of you isn't somewhere far off in the future? It's already inside you, just waiting for permission to show up. What if I told you that in the next 30 days, you could stop second guessing yourself, stop shrinking to fit, and start stepping into rooms like you were born to own them? This isn't about pretending to be fearless. This is about choosing to move, even with fear sitting right beside you. You see, confidence doesn't come from perfection. It doesn't come from applause or approval. Confidence is built when you start showing up for you, when you start speaking your truth, keeping your promises to yourself, and taking one bold step at a time. Most people think confidence is something you're either born with or you're not, but that's a lie. Confidence is built, grown, stretched into. And over the next 30 days, I'm going to show you how to build a version of it that no fear, no failure, and no outside voice can shape. So if you're ready to stop playing small, if you're ready to meet the version of you who's been waiting all along, let's begin. Confidence begins with clarity. If you don't know who you are, you'll believe anything someone else says about you. You'll bend to fit in, shrink to be accepted, or stay quiet to avoid rocking the boat. But clarity calls you higher. It demands that you stand in your truth, not just the polished version, but the raw, honest, beautifully imperfect version. Clarity is about knowing what you value, what matters to you, what lights your fire, and what drains your soul. It's about knowing your why you wake up, why you fight, why you keep going even when no one's clapping. When you're clear, you walk differently, you speak with intention, you make decisions that align with who you are, not who you're trying to impress. Clarity doesn't come overnight. It comes from stillness, from sitting with yourself without distractions, from asking hard questions and being willing to hear the answers. What do I really want? What have I been afraid to admit? Who am I outside of my roles, titles, and relationships? Without clarity, your confidence has nothing solid to stand on. It becomes performance instead of power. But once you start getting clear, even if it's just one truth at a time, you begin to anchor yourself. Confidence grows not because you have it all figured out, but because you know what direction you're walking in. You stop second guessing your steps. You stop over apologizing for taking up space. You stop waiting for permission to be you. When you know who you are, you stop entertaining what you're not. Clarity doesn't make life easier. It makes it aligned. And in that alignment, confidence becomes natural. It becomes rooted, not rushed, strong, not showy. And it becomes the foundation for every brave decision you make next. Confidence is not built in one grand moment. It's built through the small, quiet, intentional choices you make every single day. Think of it like making deposits into a personal bank account. You add to it little by little, and over time, the balance grows. That's how confidence works. It's not about waiting for a life-changing event to make you believe in yourself. It's about deciding every morning to show up for you, to speak life over yourself before the world gets a chance to speak anything else. Each day you have the opportunity to affirm who you are becoming. Even if you don't fully believe it yet, you say it anyway. You stand in the mirror and declare, I am capable, I am worthy, I am enough. These aren't just words, they are seeds. And with consistency, those seeds grow roots. Every time you honor your word to yourself, whether it's sticking to a goal, setting a boundary, or simply showing up when you'd rather hide, you build trust with and that trust, that's confidence in its truest form. You don't have to feel fearless to act boldly. The action itself becomes your evidence. Each step you take, even when it's shaky, becomes proof that you can rely on yourself. And the more you show up, the louder that inner voice of belief becomes. Confidence grows when you keep your promises to yourself, when you choose to go again even after falling, when you choose to believe that effort counts, that progress matters, and that showing up is a win. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present, being committed, being kind enough to speak life into your reflection, and strong enough to follow through on your own behalf. That's how confidence becomes your daily practice. That voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, not ready, not worthy, that voice isn't the truth. It's the inner critic, and it shows up loudest right when you're about to grow. It sounds like protection, but it's really fear wearing a mask. You have to learn to recognize when it's speaking. That voice doesn't come from your power, it comes from your past, from old wounds, from moments where you were hurt, overlooked, or told you weren't enough. It's like a broken record that repeats the same message, not because it's true, but because it's familiar. The first step to silencing that voice is awareness. You catch it in the act. You pause and ask, is this thought building me up or tearing me down? If it's not empowering, it's not your truth. Then you challenge it. You speak back. You say, that may have been true once, but it's not who I am now. You replace it with words that reflect your growth. This isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing the narrative that supports the person you are becoming. You might have been criticized before, but that doesn't mean you have to keep criticizing yourself. You might have made mistakes, but that doesn't mean you are one. You are allowed to rewrite the story. And rewriting doesn't mean erasing. It means reframing. You take what happened and you give it new meaning, something that makes you stronger, not smaller. That inner critic gets quieter when you consistently prove it wrong, when you speak up anyway, when you show up anyway, when you try again, even with shaky hands. Over time, you'll realize the loudest voice doesn't have to be the truest one. You get to choose which voice you follow. Confidence grows when you stop shrinking yourself to fit into places that were never meant to contain you. It's in the moment you decide to walk into the room like you belong there, even if your legs are shaking, even if your heart is racing. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission, and you start giving it to yourself. That shift, when you choose to own the moment instead of waiting for approval, changes everything. Confidence isn't about being the loudest person in the room. It's about carrying the energy of someone who knows they have value, even in silence. It's the way you hold your head up, the way you take up space without apology. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You just need to be present and fully rooted in who you are. Every time you enter a space and choose not to shrink, you send a message to yourself and everyone around you that you are worthy of being seen. Owning the room isn't about arrogance. It's about alignment. When you're aligned with your truth, you stop editing yourself for comfort. You start speaking with intention. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. You let your presence do the talking even before you open your mouth. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when you feel small or out of place. That's natural. But even in those moments, you walk in anyway. You breathe through the fear and still take the seat at the table. Because the truth is, confidence doesn't erase fear. It just refuses to let fear take the lead. And the more you do that, the more you teach yourself that you belong, not because someone said so, but because you decided you do. Confidence thrives when you make it a habit to recognize and celebrate your progress, no matter how small it seems. Too often people wait for the big flashy wins, the promotion, the big launch, the moment that looks good on social media. But true, lasting confidence is built in the quiet victories. It's in the days you wanted to quit but didn't. It's in the boundaries you set, the conversations you braved, the promises you kept to yourself. These moments may not get applause from the world, but they deserve recognition from you. When you celebrate your wins, you reinforce your belief in your own ability to grow. You start to realize that progress isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. Every single step forward, no matter how small, is evidence that you're moving in the right direction. And when you take the time to acknowledge that, you train your mind to see what's working instead of obsessing over what's not. That shift in focus creates emotional fuel. It keeps you going when things feel heavy. It reminds you that you can do hard things and you have done hard things. Celebrating doesn't mean throwing a party every time you cross something off your list. It means pausing long enough to say, "Look at me showing up." It means journaling that win, speaking it out loud, smiling at yourself in the mirror because you did something that once scared you. It's about honoring your own growth in real time instead of only in hindsight. When you do this consistently, confidence starts to feel less like a destination and more like a natural part of your rhythm, because you're no longer waiting to feel like you've made it. You're acknowledging that you're already on the way, and that is worth celebrating. Confidence is born in the places that make you uncomfortable. It doesn't come from doing what you already know how to do. It comes from stretching, stepping into situations that challenge you, scare you, or push you beyond the version of yourself you've been clinging to. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your invitation. It's the space where growth begins, where your old limitations get tested, and where your courage gets to speak louder than your fear. When you stretch into discomfort, you teach yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That new challenge, that difficult conversation, that scary yes, those are the moments where confidence starts to take root. Not because you nailed it on the first try, but because you had the courage to try it all. Every time you move beyond your comfort zone, you expand it. What used to intimidate you becomes familiar, and what once felt impossible becomes your new normal. But here's the thing, discomfort never feels convenient. It shows up when you're tired, when you're unsure, when part of you wants to run. That's exactly why it's powerful. Because when you choose to stay, to breathe through the shaking, to speak up instead of staying silent, you shift the story. You show yourself that fear is not a stop sign. It's just a signal that you're stretching into something new. This is how confidence grows, not by staying safe, but by daring to move, by doing the thing even when your voice shakes, by letting your discomfort be a sign that you're on the edge of something bigger. The more you stretch, the more unshakable you become. Not because you're fearless, but because you've made a habit of walking with fear and choosing growth anyway. You didn't come here to play small. You didn't come here to blend in, to silence your voice, or to let fear write your story. You came here to rise, to remember who you are, to reclaim your power, and to rebuild your confidence from the inside out. Over the last 30 days, you've learned to speak life over yourself, to show up even when it was hard, to stretch into discomfort, and to celebrate every step along the way. You've learned that confidence isn't a feeling, it's a decision, a daily choice, a sacred promise to never give up on the woman you're becoming. So now the question is not if you're confident, the question is, how will you carry this confidence forward? How will you keep showing up when the applause fades, when the old doubts try to creep back in? The answer is simple. You'll remember that the version of you who started this journey was already powerful, but the version of you standing here now, she's unshakable. You are no longer waiting to become her. You are her. Now, walk in it. Speak from it. And don't you dare look back.